Going back to yung nangyari nung August 11, yung collision between the Chinese Coast Guard and the Chinese Navy, it's not that often that we have the Chinese Navy talagang bumabandera doon sa kalagitnaan ng mga confrontations natin. Typically, you'd have them over the horizon, just shadowing us. Ngayon, pumapasok na at nakikipag-gitgitan. How unusual is that? Is that a point of concern?
So Ed, natutuwa ka ba na nagbungguan sila?
Hindi ko sinabi yun. Nag-ibig ka naman.
Well, number one, tama ka Ed. That is the first time na hindi naka-over the horizon na overwatch yung PLP. They were actively participating in the harassment ng ating Philippine Coast Guard. So that in itself is an unusual event. Now, yung circumstances leading to that, hindi natin alam yon. Sila sa kabilang partido yung more or less nakakaalam kung bakit nila ginawa yon. Pero ang nakita ko lang dito, medyo maaring hindi kabisado nung PLA Navy vessel yung galaw o yung taktika na ini-employ ng Chinese Coast Guard, kaya nahantong sila ron sa bungguan nila sa dagat.
Admiral, I wonder if you could explain to our viewers yung tinatawag nilang white versus white concept and why that's important.
Well, that is an offshoot of yung naratibo na create noong 2012 ng Scarborough Shoal standoff. Parang there was sort of a discernment na one way of the escalation doon sa situation sa West Philippine Sea is kung ang katapat natin ay yung Coast Guard, ang kaharap natin ay yung Chinese Coast Guard, pagtapat natin yung Philippine Coast Guard natin. Kasi white on white because yung kulay ng barko natin pareho ay kulay puti. Either way, that is, kumbaga, that frames yung engagement. So parang ito yung de-escalatory in nature yung ganyan taktika.
Para lang Admiral sa ating mga tigapakinig, kailangan natin ipaliwanag na yung Coast Guard natin ay under ng ating civilian government at yung Coast Guard nila under ng kanilang defense establishment. Ibig sabihin, military command. Yung kanilang Coast Guard.
Tama po yun, Sir Ronald, no? Yung kanilang, yung Chinese Coast Guard operates under the People's Liberation Army. Now, specifically dito sa South China Sea, they fall under the Southern Theater Command. This is a joint command ng PLA that is responsible for operations dito sa South China Sea. Sa atin naman po, ang Philippine Coast Guard natin ay nakapapaloob sa ating Department of Transportation.
DOTR.
While of course yung Navy natin is under the Armed Forces or under Department of National Defense.
So, in short, the fact that yung Navy nila was, which is a gray ship, as we were just saying, ito yung white versus white, it's a warship, was aggressively in pursuit of our Philippine Coast Guard, a white vessel, is serious.
Well, it is serious because this is the first time we encounter it, and yung consequence was of course very obvious, no? It could have been yung Philippine Coast Guard natin yung nabunggo nila. Kung mali lang, kung hindi lang nagkataon maganda yung diskarte ng ating kapitan ng ating Philippine Coast Guard, maring siya yung nabunggo nito. Pag dideploy natin ng ating barko, be it Navy o Coast Guard, it operates under what we call a rules of engagement. That is for the Navy, no? But for the Coast Guard, which is under civilian control, we call it the rules on use of force. Medyo semantics, no? But may difference yun. The ROE is employed by military organizations. RUUF is employed by law enforcement organizations. Now, hindi natin dito sa kabilang partido naman, since they operate under everything operates under the PLA, they operate under rules of engagement. So dito, first time that we observed that they've broken yung ROE nila, and they have actually employed People's Liberation Army Navy in pursuit of our Philippine Coast Guard vessel.
Admiral, to clarify,
Admiral, yung Coast Guard nila, it's operating under the gray zone tactics nila, no? Saka, pero actually, they are authorized. Ang Coast Guard ng China is authorized to engage even in combat operations. Pero nevertheless, gray zone pa rin yan. Pero yung Navy talaga, military na yan eh. Kung sakasakala yung Navy nila, ang mag-ano sa atin, halimbawa, hinarang yung barko natin at nadisgrasya tayo, wag naman sana, will that trigger the Mutual Defense Treaty with the US? Kung Navy na nila.
2 points lang, Ami, no, doon sa question mo. I-deconstruct ko lang. Number 1, hindi ako advocate ng gray zone kasi I think that is a very deceptive tactical concept. No? I use yung lente ng Navy, which is sea control. Whether they use militia vessel, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel, or a People's Liberation Army Navy vessel.
Nung nagbungguan yung Chinese Coast Guard at saka Chinese Navy, nasa gitna ba sila ng pagtugis dun sa Philippine Coast Guard vessel?
The way I describe and i-report sa media, parang ang ginagawa nila is pincer movement, no? So kinikita nila yung Philippine Coast Guard vessel para maipagkita siya at mai-control yung movement niya. Now, ang nangyayari, parang yung PLA Navy vessel is supposed to block yung Coast Guard vessel natin from the starboard side o sa right side. Then yung Chinese Coast Guard vessel is supposed to water cannon yung Coast Guard vessel natin. I would presume that at some point, ang objective nun is yung didikit yung PLA Navy vessel para ma-force yung Coast Guard vessel natin dumikit doon sa Coast Guard vessel nila.
Sa video kasi magkadikit yung tatlo eh. Ating Coast Guard vessel, tsaka yung Navy, People's Liberation Army Navy, at tsaka yung Chinese Coast Guard. Ayun, dangerously close to each other.
Ang tingin ko rito, Sec Ronald, nag-miscalculate yung kapitan ng barko ng People's Liberation Army Navy sa maneuver niya. Hindi niya na-arrest yung movement niya. At of course, maganda yung ginawa nung nung Philippine Coast Guard vessel para i-evade yung kanyang pag-force, yung galaw ng PLA Navy vessel.
So Admiral, mati-trigger ba yung Mutual Defense Treaty? Balikan ko lang yung tanong ko kanina.
Okay, yung
MDT, sakasakalan yung Navy.
Based sa prevailing discussion conversation between the US at yung Pilipinas, any government vessel natin, be it Navy o Coast Guard, involved in an incident, let's say, that would cause physical harm to yung crew, or let's say destruction or physical damage ng vessel, will trigger the MDT under yung Article 4.
Even
Pag military, di ba? Kapag military ng China,
immaterial yung China side eh. Ang trigger niya is yung sa side natin. So any government vessel natin, be it Navy, Coast Guard, or even yung Bureau of Fisheries vessel, which are all designated as government vessel, kung nadehado yun sa dagat, karoon ng damage, or may nasaktan na crew natin of any of those three agencies, that will trigger NDT.
Sir, it does not have to be through the use of weapons, ganun ba? That's immaterial whether you use weapons or anything else?
Because for a time we were debating armed attack. What
armed attack or not
armed attack?
yeah.
Hindi na ang pagkakaintindi ko, it's not the instrument or the tools used, but rather the outcome o yung effect.
Damage.
Oo. Kasi for I think yung Chinese Coast Guard vessel na ginamit nila, yung 3104, is an ex-PLA Navy vessel. So to all intents and purposes, it's a warship that they just painted it white, then nilagyan ng stripe ng Coast Guard nila. And most likely, yung crew niyan are still Navy or ex-Navy personnel na tin-transfer sa Philippine Coast Guard nila. So kung meron man civilian, quote-unquote, civilian yung nature ng Coast Guard nila vessel, it's very superficial.
Pero sir, yun nga sir, you obviously have a change in strategy or maybe tactics would be more appropriate here. Ngayon, the Chinese Navy is directly involved, at least in this case, sa paghaharap sa mga vessels natin. Is this any reason for concern on our part? Are they escalating?
As of now, in the absence of clear information, I would treat it muna as an isolated incident na nag-miscalculate yung kapitan ng barko ng Navy vessel nila. Unless we see a repetition of this type of tactic in succeeding incidents in the future, then we can treat it as an isolated incident for the time. But it doesn't mean na magre-relax tayo.
Yes,
We
sir.
may have to look at we have to consider some contingency planning of our own para to check if we may need to adjust. It doesn't mean na pag nag-review tayo ng ng konsepto ng pag-operate sa West Philippines ay i-escalate natin yung situation. Ang sinasabi ko lang naman, wala namang masama kung nagpe-prepare ka at meron kang contingency for incidents na kung sakali man magkaroon ng escalation in the future.
Sir, kasi sabi nga natin kanina, before the Navy would stay over the horizon. Now, at least in this incident, they're just over the bow or over the stern. Striking distance.
Tsaka Admiral, in relation sa tanong ni Ed, merong dumating na 2 American battleships dyan sa area. Hindi rin ganun kadalas na nangyayari yon sa Scarborough?
Ang tingin ko, coincidence yun. Most likely, yung dalawang US Navy vessel was already in the vicinity of Luzon Sea. Okay? Nakapasok na sila. So, most likely, they have a scheduled FONOPS or Freedom of Navigation Patrol within the South China Sea. Then, nire-route siya sa vicinity na Scarborough Shoal for the purpose of, I would presume, sa pananaw ng Amerika, their presence would sort of de-escalate yung situation doon sa Scarborough Shoal.
So, hindi totoo yung spin ng Chinese government na dinrive away nila yung isang US battleship sa Scarborough. It's just a spin.
Consistent naman yung ganyang narratibo, yung propaganda line naman They use that for every FONOPS o Freedom of Navigation Patrol ng US Navy in any areas or any within the South China Sea. Laging gano'n naman yung narratibo nila. The FONOP, though it was a transit na patrol doon sa vicinity na Scarborough Shoal.
Saka dininay na yun ng US government. Ang yung latest ngayon, Admiral, masyadong napapalapit na yata yung China Coast Guard doon dito sa nasa Manila Bay na sila. Ano bang appropriate measure na pwedeng gawin natin para hindi maulit siyang ganyan? Masyado na silang malapit sa atin.
Ang napansin ko lang, Ami, kasi ito medyo nag-increase yung tempo nila, tapos
yes,
lumalapit sila when we pass the maritime zones law. Parang ito yung response nila doon sa remember, challenge nila yung law na yun nung pinasa at pinablish, di ba? Tapos nag-create din sila parang sarili nilang baseline around Scarborough Shoal, which actually because of that, nag-increase din yung tempo or yung presence nila around Scarborough Shoal. Medyo nag-higpit sila. So, ang nakita ko rito is parang may pinasa tayong batas na kontra sila. So, ang ginawa nila, in-increase nila yung puwersa para testingin, sige nga, may batas kayong bago, tingnan ko kung kaya nyo enforce yan. Okay? So, ang baliktad naman na sitwasyon doon is, pag gumawa tayo ng batas, dapat kasama doon is yung pag-enforce ng batas na yun.
Okay, kailangan ma-proteksyonan natin yung kine-claim natin.
Correct, Ami. Tapos yung sa Manila Bay, hindi pwede kasi para nangyari, parang reactive or responsive lang tayo. Yung pag lumabas yung barko natin, isa-shadow nila. Ang akin ganun, bakit hindi na lang tayo yung mag-shadow sa kanila?
Admiral, yung isang Chinese maritime expert, sinabi niya na dapat daw tayo magbayad dun sa damage dito sa collision ng Chinese Coast Guard at saka Chinese Navy. Dahil hindi daw ito mangyayari kung hindi tayo
Why are you
nang
even
gugulo.
listening to them?
Hindi tayo nang gugulo sa Scarborough. Hindi, medyo nakakatawa kasi na tayo magbabayad. Lumabas sa Global Times na kailangan daw tayo magbayad doon sa damage. Hindi ka ba natawa?
Napaka-far-fetched naman yung claim na yun. But,
We do recall last year, di ba? Yung rubber boots natin, sinira niya. Tapos one of our special operations forces was injured. Oh.
yeah, that's what DFA Sec Lazaro was pointing at, right? They haven't even compensated us
And they
for
confiscated
that.
our equipment and our firearms. Ano pa siya, sir?
Sorry, let me pivot, sir. Admiral, we were seeing online that some Taiwanese media are saying that may namatay na Chinese Coast Guard crew members. What do you know about this?
So far, wala akong report na validating that. Ang narinig ko lang dalawa, I think, or tatlo. Also from the media. So, pero it most likely considering na ang tinamaan yung ba.
Kasi there are people who are also concerned na after this collision, one of two things could happen and they're on either side of the they are on either side of the spectrum. On one hand, maaring mas mag-ingat yung China because of what happened sa collision na ito, or on the other hand, China might become more aggressive because this is a loss of face and it is an embarrassment. So what do you think? What do you think will happen here? Will it swing to one side or the other, or somewhere in between?
To cover up their epic fail.
It could happen both ways, Ed. Yung parehong scenario will be forthcoming. Number one, if you remember, nung June 17 incident last year, dito sa Second Thomas Shoal, nag-recalibrate sila ron doon sa Second Thomas Shoal. So medyo nag-tone down. So dito, maaaring mag-tone down sila kasi they will need to review yung incident at it may require a change in tactics, no? Baka ang mangyari dito, pull out na nila yung Navy, hindi nila uulitin yon na yung employing yung Navy vessel nila for harassment tactics sa ating mga vessel. So that may happen. But pwede rin hahanap sila ng ng butas para mag-escalate din. So most likely we will see once medyo naka-readjust yan sila doon sa nila, it may come in several forms. It can be diplomatic yung nila, yung form of harassment, or it may be an increase of harassment sa fisher folks natin doon sa Scarborough Shoal. Or it can be an increase, theater-wide increase of harassment, not only in Scarborough Shoal, but also dito sa Kalayaan Island Group sa Palawan.
Andyan na siya.
Yung on another note, tinatanong namin kanina kung yung agreement, non-agreement sa Ayungin, is it holding? Dahil sa Scarborough kasi wala kasing agreement Pero doon sa Ayungin ay merong agreement na non-agreement dahil wala pa naman nakakakita nung agreement.
Nag-agree sila na...
Verbal agreement.
Is it holding?
Yung mga nakausap ko from the inside, nag-hold naman yung agreement, yung non-agreement doon sa Second Thomas Shoal.
So it's holding.
Yes. At saka kasi sa Ronald, nawala na yung pressure sa China side para ituloy pa rin nila yung harassment sa Sierra Madre.
BRP Sierra Madre.
Kasi nai-repair na yung Sierra Madre. So wala na silang dahilan para mangharas pa ng supply vessel natin.
So sila, Ed Lingao, pwede na uli mag-convoy doon. At aabot na sila sa BRP Sierra Madre. Last time kasi bumalik kayo, di ba?
Huwag na paalala.
Umikot.
Pwede na, Ed. Pwede na kayo bumalik doon.
Yung rubber boat na lang.
Di ba? Freedom to broadcast pa yung kanya doon.
So that's what it took, sir. That's what it took. Matapos lahat para maging moot na yung argument as to whether or not we should be allowed to repair. Kasi na-repair na nga.
Kasi ang rationale nila ron, is if they can prevent us from repairing Sierra Madre, babagsak na lang yun ang kusa, then they can take over.
So we're confident that it's not gonna fall apart anytime soon?
Ang narinig ko, may 10 years pa yun
10 years.
Tatagal pa ng 10 years.
So naman 10 years.
What's your best guess, Admiral? Why all this attention on the Sandy case? Parang, I guess nag-move
Sandy
away na
Cay
from
1, 2, and 3,
Ayungin, no? Parang nandito sa may area ng Sandy case
Pag-asa.
yung attention.
Pag-asa
Pag-asa.
Uriin na ganito, no? I look at it as one theater of operation. So, yung buong West Philippine Sea natin, may kanya-kanyang dynamic yan. But essentially, they still want to control the entire West Philippine Sea. Kaya lang, kung i-parcel out natin by feature, sa Sandy Cay, iba yung issue doon. I think ang trigger doon was yung activities natin doon to actually check yung environmental impact ng presence nila doon sa Sandy Cay. So because we deployed vessels doon, I think research vessel o yung BIPAR, so that triggered yung response nila to prevent us from actually conducting yung activities natin doon sa Sandy Cay. So kung titignan mo naman sa Sabina, one incident doon was when we deployed yung BRP Teresa Magbanua doon for an extended period for several months. So that is a different trigger.
Admiral, sabi nyo, kung magkiklaim tayo, we should be able to defend whatever we're claiming. Lumalakas na ba yung capability natin sa tingin ninyo? Nagkakaroon na ba tayo ng credible defense capability? Ang tagal ko na naririnig yung phrase na yun.
Hindi ganun kabilis yun, hindi ganun kadali yun eh. Parang pag sinabi mo ngayong araw, bukas hindi naman mangyayari yun eh. So marami pang dapat gawin.
Okay,
Tapos mukhang maliit lang yung budget na binigay sa Armed Forces for Modernization.
Oo nga eh. So I was gonna go to that. So to follow up on Ami's question, so for 2026, Malacanang is only proposing 40 billion no for the Armed Forces Modernization. Ito yung programmed funds. Di pa natin alam yung unprogrammed. What did you think of that?
Number one, hindi ko nakita yung Re-Horizon list. So we're just guessing here no, kung ano yung nalaman yung force package involved na i-modernize, no. But given na yung pagtitipid o yung kakulangan ng resources for defense, I think it forces us now to rethink yung ano ba yung equipment na bibili natin. Kasi my point is there are things that hindi naman kailangan mahal yung equipment na bibili natin. May tinatawag yan sa Navy na yung high-low. You have high intensity, very expensive platforms of vessel for very specific missions. But you also have low intensity or yung less expensive equipment for yung day-to-day use mo. So, maaaring we need to be more creative in terms of yung yung force planning ng Armed Forces.
So, Admiral, open ba kayo na udyukin natin yung ating mga senador na magpasok ng insertions para sa ating defense budget?
Oo, parang flood control, project nila
Baka
yun.
mapunta sa defense yung mga...
Divert yan.
Baka kung saan mapunta yan, ang insertion na yan na naman.
No, because, I mean, on the one hand, they're proposing 40 billion, but on the other hand, they're also talking about marami pang kailangan bilhin, right? They're talking about the BrahMos.
System.
The BrahMos missile system. Meron pa yung Typhoon. They want potentially another one. So, parang there's a bit of a big disconnect there.
Baka kailangan natin i-develop, Admiral, yung ating drone industry. Paano hindi masyadong expensive ang drone, at the same time, mas efficient. Katulad na nangyayari ngayon sa Ukraine.
Well, number one, yung point for Rihina, I will make it more complicated for you. Kasi yung 40 billion na yun, yung iba ron, multi-year payment eh. Ibig sabihin, pambayad natin sa ibang equipment na na-acquire na years before.
Yeah.
Kaya lang, hindi yung may tranches yung pagbayad. So, hindi lahat yung 40 billion na yung papasok to new acquisition, but rather loan payment of loan or D2G payment.
Or even amortization for the equipment that we took in the past.
Yes, correct. Now, for yung drone, tama po yun, Tech Ronald. In fact, that is one of the asymmetric solutions that we should consider. Kasi kung para dito lang sa yung for example, yung Chinese Coast Guard at yung militia vessel, medyo magastos kung BrahMos ang gagamitin mo ron kasi BrahMos is a very expensive system. So you have to look for, ang tinatawag natin, you have to look for cheaper asymmetric solution, and drone is one thing. But instead of buying drones, I would agree na dapat dito na gawin drone factory na para ma-address yung supply chain issue. Hindi na ikaw aasa sa ibang countries, kumbaga ikaw na mismo gagawin para isupply natin ng private sector natin, ng industry, sa armed forces, yung requirement nila.
Employment generation pa.
Pero Admiral, marami na ring drone ng China eh. Advanced na rin sila dyan.
They're very advanced.
Pero Ami, yun ang naging labanan sa Russia dahil hindi nila advanced na rin yung Russia, namimili siya all over the place, Turkey, Iran, at saka sa China. Ang ginawa ng Ukraine, gumawa sila ng local drone industry nila. Kaya kahit papano, may defensive capability sila. Kahit papano.
But let me zoom out a bit, Admiral. Kasi si Admiral, I bumped into him at the Stratbase Forum a few days ago, wherein two of the speakers from the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank in the U.S. that works with U.S. Congress to decide on U.S. defense policy. There were two speakers there from the Heritage Foundation. Sabi nila, it's a very real possibility that the U.S. will be in high-intensity conflict with China within the next 5 years. What did you think when they said that?
I would presume na nag-contingency planning sila. Actually, ang naririnig ko sa Indo-PACOM na nila is 2027 yung benchmark year nila. There are others naman na moving it down to further down to 2030. So this is a result of manifestation of the contingency planning nila. And it doesn't necessarily mean mangyayari yun, no? But part and parcel of defense planning kasi you identify the threat and you try to forecast yung trending. It doesn't mean na mangyayari yun. But that type of planning triggers a lot of resource management adjustment of the defense department.
Admiral, nung nagsalita si President Bongbong sa India, marami na surprise dun sa statement niya on Taiwan. From your vantage point, what was that about?
I think yung statement ni President Marcos was a realistic appraisal of a scenario wherein there is conflict in Taiwan. Hindi makakaiwas yung Pilipinas doon sa second order or third order effect ng conflict sa Taiwan. Masyadong intertwined eh. Number one, of course, yung migrant workers natin sa Taiwan. It will be a political issue for us kasi we need to evacuate them. Pangalawa, for a Taiwan scenario to happen, China needs to have sea control over Pasig Channel saka yung dagat somewhere in Batanes Group of Islands. Kung talagang extreme yun, the Chinese might occupy some islands in the Batanes Group of Islands to enforce yung sea control nila nung dagat between yung northern Philippines na yung Taiwan. So, whether we are involved or not, yung northern part of the Philippines, by the nature of the peace, are legitimate military objectives if China decides in the future to actually have a physical attack of Taiwan.
And in that instance, how prepared is the Philippines? I mean, coming back to yung forum where we were both at, sabi ng US they're looking to reallocate $150 billion to Indo-PACOM, right? Under which the Philippines falls, and this is going to go towards hindi tanks, but more like anti-ship missiles, for instance, right? Long-range anti-ship missiles. Do you see this happening, and how prepared are we?
Hindi naman tayo natutulog sa pansitan, kumbaga. So, we already projected that even during the time of President Duterte, yung ganong scenario. So, if you recall, the Navy redeployed yung one of Marine Battalion sa Norte. Tapos we tried to improve on our maritime domain awareness dun sa Mabulis. Okay?
Batanes.
Then, for several years already, or several iterations ng exercise Balikatan, doon natin dinadala sa Northern Philippines yung exercise. Why are we doing that? That is one form of a signaling tool. Parang sinasabi natin sa China, alam namin yung kung may plano ka bang masama dyan sa Taiwan, ito yung ano namin, yung response namin. My point rin is na ganito eh. We should not wait for that scenario to kumaga manifest. What we need to do is create the conditions that will disrupt yung planning ng China or yung strategy niya para magdalawang isip siya. So that means we need to build on deterrence. So yung pag-acquire ng BrahMos years ago, that was planned years ago, was precisely for this type of scenario. Kasi the only way for China to physically attack Taiwan, they have to go by sea. Okay? They have to go by sea. And the BrahMos is designed for anti-ship missile system. Ang problema lang, kulang yan. So we need more. So dito papasok yung US. So kung nakita nyo, in-introduce na yung HIMARS, then later on yung NIMS system. So these are anti-ship missile systems as well.
And it looks like it's not just the US, diba? I mean, today the Australian Defence Forces also just announced the largest joint drills with Philippine Armed Forces, which will carry on until the end of the month, if I remember correctly. So these are yung tinatawag nilang like-minded countries.
Yes,
May quad na tayo eh.
We are, kumbaga, we have to recognize na we are also a convening power, no? In the sense na because we are a frontline state in this geopolitical context that we are caught in. Other countries recognize that we are the frontline state and they respond to us in terms of either assistance or international support.
Ang problema kasi, Admiral, ang dami nating the largest military exercises in our history nangyayari ngayon. Ang problema, yung ating defense capability, kahit yung nakukuha natin sa ating allies, ay parang a drop in the bucket. Paano, halimbawa, kahit yung BrahMos, yung HIMARS, siguro ilang minutes lang yan, depleted na yung ating missiles eh. So, paano tayo magkakaroon ng isang mas sustained military capability? Paano tayo with a 40 billion peso defense budget?
I was gonna say, the answer is increase your defense spending.
Na marami ron, pinambabayad lang natin doon sa mga previous military acquisitions natin. So, parang medyo on the horizon, parang kulang na kulang yung ating military defense plan or strategy.
Tama ka dyan, Sir Ronald. Naalala ko tuloy yung aking professor noon sa masteral course. Sinasabi niya, if you want to be a successful revolutionary, you must come up with a superior strategy to offset your minimal resources available to you. So dito yung pagalingan na lang yung strategy. But yung second point is yung supply chain, logistics. That's why kailangan natin i-establish talaga yung defense industry natin to support yung requirements natin. And third, important, we need to learn to fight in a cheaper way. Hindi pwede yung bibili natin equipment mga mahal, tapos parang bumili ng mahal na printer eh. Tapos ang good for one cartridge lang ng ink yung available. So we need to think out of the box in terms of the force planning saka yung modernization na upgrade natin.
Okay.
Yeah. Huling tanong na lang, Admiral. Anong relasyon lahat nitong pinag-uusapan natin sa impeachment? Joke. Joke. You don't have to answer.
Teka, baka mismot siya.
Sir Ronald, whether we like it or not, there is a nexus between our domestic politics and our greatest geopolitical challenge. And the nexus of that is, of course, the Duterte.
Yan, sumagot tuloy.
Sinagot.
Talaga. oh.
Everything is connected. Everything. Pero buti pa si Admiral, hindi natutulog sa pansitan. Unlike,
Like some people, you know.
thank you for so much for talking to us today. That was former Navy Rear Admiral Romeo
Thank you, sir.
Jude Ong.
Salamat
Thank you, sir.
sa Admiral.
Thank you, Admiral.